Okay, I'm back. My apologies, family. But I was running out of memory. I had to get another memory card for that. This particular camera requires that I'm saying y'all care about this. The reason I had to do that because this particular camera, I can't live stream without recording. So I had to get another memory card. Nevertheless, I'm in Acts. I have to start off again in Acts the 17th chapter, because you have a duty as a believer, one, because you are responsible for your salvation. Okay, and just like the example I gave with the watchman, if the watchman doesn't warn the people when they continue in their sin, hey, they're gonna die and the blood should be required at the watchman's hands. But hey, if the watchman warns the people and they still don't believe, but he's done his job, he saved his soul, right? In both cases, everybody has responsibility. You're not gonna be able to say in that time of judgment, oh well, he lied to me. It's your duty to find out if the person is telling the truth. How do you know somebody's telling the truth? Because you can back up what they're saying in scripture. Okay, so you can't so when you say, well, they reading the scriptures in the churches, they really not. Or they read out of context. If you read it yourself and you read it how you're supposed to read it, we'll talk about that even further. You understand that how you hear the 10 commandments, you know that it's 10 commandments. How you justify breaking the commandments? See, you have to make sure what they're saying is right. And that's what happens here. This is Acts the 17th chapter. I'm going to pick it up at verse 1. So it says, now when they had passed through Amphipolis and Apollonia, they came to Thessalonica, where was the synagogue of the Jews. And Paul, as his manner was, went unto them in 3 Sabbath days, reasoned with them out of the scriptures. So he's reasoning with the people out of what's written. He's not reasoning with them out of some other book. He's not reasoning with them out of the vain imagination of his mind. He's not reasoning with them out of opinion. He's using the scriptures. See, that's why when you come on here, I'm reading to you. And you get more pushback and blowback. You got people lying to you like 40 going north, read no book, taking things out of context, coming up with ridiculous propositions and notions and doctrines. They don't really get challenged. They are celebrated. But you sit here and read what thus saith the Lord as it's written and say this the authority and actually read it. Now people got a problem with you. But nevertheless, it says, opening and alleging that Christ must needs have suffered and risen again from the dead, and that this Jesus whom I preach unto you is Christ, or the Messiah. See, so now, again, he came in the volume of the book. So ultimately, it's all about getting salvation. Okay, so now they were here, some believed, but then others who did not believe. Verse 5, but the Jews which believed not, moved with envy, took unto them certain lewd fellows of the basest sort, and gathered a company and set all the city on an uproar, and assaulted the house of Jason, and sought to bring them out to the people. Okay, so now they ended up leaving. Okay, so at verse 10, it says, and the brethren immediately sent away Paul and Silas by night unto Berea, who coming thither went into the synagogue of the Jews. Now you in another synagogue. Hold on, brother. I'm going to get there in a second. Hold on, brother. It says, so now they're in another synagogue of the Jews. It says, these were more noble than those in Thessalonica. Now, they are better. Why are they better? In that they received the word with all readiness of mind. So now they're ready to hear. They receiving the word. And then it says something, and search the scriptures daily, whether those things were so. They didn't just take his word for it. They believed in the word. But then they said, okay, now let's see if what Paul is saying is true. Let's find out if what Paul the apostle is saying is true. And then how they do that, they search the scriptures. Brothers and sisters, that's your responsibility. Somebody can stand before you and say they telling you what thus saith the Lord, but what thus saith the Lord is written. So now you need to find out if what they're saying is indeed written there. Some would say, well, I came with my own thing. Oh, the Lord, he appeared unto me directly. Well, I'm going to tell you one thing. If he did, he's not going to tell you anything that's contrary to what's written in this book. See, that's how you get them. The Lord sent me, now drink this Kool-Aid. See, What verse is that? You understand? So you have to line up what the person is saying to what's written. And that's where people get in trouble. Because you listen, you want to get some money, you'll find out anything and everything. You want to do some hustle, you want to know the ins and outs. You want to invest your money in some portfolio or for some company, you want to find out. You want a degree in some field, basket weaving or whatever it is. You want to find out. You want to find out what you need to do, right? You're gonna read, right? But when it comes to your salvation, the most important thing on the table, you're not really concerned about it. You do that lazily. I see that oftentimes people ask questions. I don't have a problem with people asking questions. Don't get me wrong. But sometimes the questions are like, some of the questions are the laziest questions. Some of the questions are the laziest questions. Sometimes people don't even, you can tell them, well, okay, I've done that lesson 4 or 5 times. I want you to go and look at this video. They don't even want to do that. Then you really don't want to know. Or ask a question and fall asleep. What are you wasting time for? So a lot of times people it's people that read, they're trying to understand, don't get me wrong, but then they don't even want to, they really don't, they lazy. You can't be lazy when it comes to salvation, brothers and sisters. You're going to have to sit down and you're going to have to read. That's what you're going to have to do. Okay? That's what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to read. Now, let me go here, because the question now is, how do you read the Bible? Well, let's look at something here. And that's something that's saying, this is a principle that you see over and over again. This is 2 Corinthians, the 13th chapter. And I'm going to read verse 1. He says, this is the third time I'm coming to you. In the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses shall every word be established. Okay, so now that's how you should look at the scriptures, brothers and sisters. If you want to know if the Bible's indeed telling you something, it'll be said here, it'll be said there, it'll be said everywhere by witnesses. Okay, let me show you an example of what I'm talking about. Let me show you just an example. Let's go to Isaiah. Let's read what Philip was explaining to the Ethiopian eunuch. That's in Isaiah the 53rd chapter. I'm gonna just show you an example of what I'm talking about. Isaiah the 53rd chapter says, it says, let's just pick it up here. It says, he is despised and rejected of men. I'm in verse 3. A man of sorrows and acquainted with grief. And we hid, as it were, our faces from him. He was despised and we esteemed him not. Surely he hath borne our griefs and carried our sorrows. Yet we did esteem him stricken, smitten of God, and afflicted. But he was bruised, he was wounded for our iniquities. He was wounded for our transgressions. He was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement of our peace was upon him, and with his stripes we are healed. All we like sheep have gone astray. We have turned every one to his own way, and the Lord hath laid on him the iniquity of us all. So all that's laid on him. Now let me just show you. Let's just see. What does he mean by that? Let's go to let's see somebody else that says something about this. See, so you go here, you go there, you go to different places to find out what the Bible's saying. Okay. This is 1 Peter 2 and verse 24. I'm going to pick it up in verse 21. He said, for even, verse 21, 1 Peter 2 and 21, for even here unto were ye called, because Christ also suffered for us. Now we were just reading in Isaiah about his suffering. It says, leaving us an example that we should follow his steps, who did no sin, neither was God found in his mouth, who when he was reviled not again. When he suffered, he threatened not, but committed himself to him that judgeth righteously. Because what do you mean he opened his mouth? We can read in here in Isaiah 53rd chapter. It says in verse 7, he was oppressed and he was afflicted, yet he opened not his mouth. He is brought as a lamb to the slaughter, and as a sheep before his shears is dumb, so he opened not his mouth. What's he talking about? Hold up finger here. See, so if you want to really know what's going on, you got to read different places. This is Matthew. This is Matthew, the 26th chapter. This is 62. Matthew 26 and 62. Because they saying, they coming against him. I'm going to pick it up at verse in the 60. It said, the last came two false witnesses and said, this fellow said, I am able to destroy the temple of God and to build it in 3 days. Now he was talking about himself, but it said, and the high priest arose and said unto him, answerest thou nothing? What is it which these witness against thee? But Jesus held his peace. And the high priest answered and said unto him, I adjure thee by the living God, that thou tell us whether thou be the Christ, the Son of God. But then it said he held his peace, right? So in 1 Peter 2, in verse 22, who did no sin, now was God found in his mouth, who when he was reviled not again, when he suffered, he threatened not, but committed himself to him that judges righteously. Then it says something, who his own self bare our sins in his own body on the tree, on the cross, that we being dead in sin should live unto righteousness, by whose stripes we are healed. See, so the whole Bible's telling you that. The whole Bible's telling you that. Let's go back to Isaiah. So now by 2 or 3 witnesses, so you should be able to read it here. You should be able to read it there. Okay, in different places. What are the writers? What are these authors? These who were inspired, God spoke as they were moved by the Holy Ghost. They were inspired, brothers and sisters. How was it? What were they saying? Because they all saying the same thing. You know how it is. You could start something in the classroom with the first desk, and by the time you get to the last desk, somebody whispering somebody in, that's an entirely different story. We're talking over approximately 1,500 years, approximately 40 authors. They're all saying the same thing. Isaiah 28, he said something else. How you going to get it? Just like what we did just then. It says in Isaiah 28 and verse 10, or verse 9, whom shall he teach knowledge, and whom shall he make to understand doctrine? Them that are weaned from the milk and drawn from the breast. For precept must be upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line, line upon line, here a little and there a little. So you have to, it's brothers and sisters, this book is extremely vast. You can read it for a lifetime, and then it just get deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. Okay? So I've been dealing with it for about 19 years, maybe. 18, 19 years or so. And one thing I realized in all the reading I've done and thousands of hours that I put in, this intense study that I put in, one thing I realized is that there's so much I do not know. The more I read, the more I realize what I don't know. People ask questions, I answer their questions. And what I do know, that's what the Lord has given me, and I'm thankful for that. And I sat down and asked questions just like other people. And I studied and studied and studied. And the more I studied, the more I realized there's a whole lot more to study. There's a whole lot more to understand. So now, but to get a basic understanding, to get a foundational understanding, you can do that. But you got to get it piece by piece, line upon line, precept upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line, here a little and there a little. Just like the example I just did. I read Isaiah. I went to 2 Peter. I went to Matthew 26. I could have went to a bunch of other places. For example, I want to read something about the Sabbath. I would go to Genesis 2, verses 1 through 3. I want to continue to read about the Sabbath. I'll go to Exodus 20 and read about it in the 10 Commandments. I would go to Exodus the 31st chapter, right? And verses 12 through 18. Then if I want to read about it some more, I go to Leviticus the 23rd chapter. Then I want to find out how the Messiah kept the Sabbath, I go to Luke the 4th chapter. If I want to learn how Paul the apostle kept the Sabbath, I go to Acts, where I was just at, the 17th chapter, as his manner was. He went into the synagogue on the Sabbath day, right? So, if I want to read what the Sabbath points to, I go to the book of Isaiah and read about it in Isaiah the 11th chapter. If I wanted to expound on that rest to come, I go to Hebrews. Okay? Hebrews around the 4th chapter? So the 3rd and the 4th chapter. So that's just, that's an example. So you get it here a little, there a little, line upon line, precept upon precept, here a little and there a little. And you keep doing that. And now you can understand what's being said, brothers and sisters. And then you can understand what's being said. Let's go to another place. Give me 1 second. And let me say this. And just like let's go to Isaiah the 8th chapter. Because just like I read, see, people talk about, you got two ends of a spectrum, brothers and sisters. You got some in the Christian church. They say, oh, you dealing with that Old Testament? How dare you? You know what I'm saying? We under the new covenant. They don't even understand what the new covenant is. They say we're in the new covenant. They use that to say we don't have to keep the law. He's talking about putting the law in your mind, on your inward part, in your heart. So, but all that's based on what was written in the Old. You can't really understand the New Testament unless you have an understanding of the Old Testament. You can't understand it, and there's so much you don't know if you don't deal with the Old Testament. You got, for example, I just read you this example. Let's go to Matthew the 24th chapter, just to show you an example of what I'm talking about. And this is also written in Mark, but Matthew the 24th chapter. I'm gonna pick it up at verse. Like, share, and subscribe, brothers and sisters. Matthew the 24th chapter, verse 15. He says something. When you therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet stand in the holy place, whoso readeth, let him understand. What are you talking about? He referred you back to Daniel. Daniel was in the Old Testament. Let's go to Isaiah the 8th chapter. So you got them, then you got those that's dealing with the Old Testament, and they say, the Messiah, the one they call Jesus, that's a fraud. I'm not dealing with that, but he all over the Old Testament. When you look at what Abraham did, taking his only son, Isaac, to sacrifice him on Mount Moriah, he put the wood on Isaac, just like the Messiah bore the cross, and he was sacrificing his only son. That foreshadowed the Messiah. What do you... They talking Jesus. You can read about Jesus' first and second coming in Genesis. They pierced David says they pierced my hands and my feet. Who was he talking about? He's not talking about the Ethiopian eunuch said. Is he speaking of himself or of some other man? He was speaking of the Messiah, right? Messiah. So Isaiah's talking about the Messiah. He's talking. He's all over the book. So now, Isaiah the 8th chapter, and when we read verse 20, it says, because you got some that would come telling you what you to seek. He talks about seeking unto them that have familiar spirits and wizards, and seems like he's talking about necromancy, those who's trying to deal with the dead. But he said, he's talking about mediums. He said, to the law and to the to the law and to the testimony. If they speak not according to this word, it is because there is no light in them. You need both. You need both. The brother said most people don't even know when Pentecost started. Yeah, you won't know. I'm gonna be honest. I had heard of Pentecostal before. I had no idea what it meant. What Pentecost meant, and because it's not covered in the Bible. I mean, not by these preachers. They're not covering it with the Bible in the Bible. These preachers are not. They bring you Christmas and Easter and Sunday worship. Okay, so they don't know what Pentecost is pointing to. They don't know people, I'm talking about people in general, don't know a lot of things. They don't even know where their pagan customs come from. And those are in encyclopedias. You don't have to go digging deep in that. You can look on your phone and Google, what's the origin of Christmas? And it'll tell you about Christianity, but then it'll go into the deep, dark pagan origins of it. It might be nice, Christians around the world. Then it said, it is likely. Then they'll take you back to Saturnalia. They'll be talking about Brumalia. They'll be talking about Memphis. They'll be talking about sun worship. They'll be talking about Krampus. They'll be talking about all the paganism that goes along with that. They might even take you all the way back to Tammuz. Okay? But now, let's go to, let's see. And just if you want to know about the feast days, you can go to Leviticus, the 23rd chapter. But now let's go to 1 Corinthians. I may have read this already. Hold on one second. Because some things are, people trying to get deep things, and what they do is oftentimes you see that I see that all the time. People don't even know basic things. And I'm not trying to disparage people. I'm just saying how it's just a blessing to know, brothers and sisters, because so many people don't know the basics. And just like how he was talking about in Isaiah, here a little and there a little, you got to build a foundation. You got to get the fundamentals right. You got people, they got huge congregations. Huge organization. I'm talking about in Israel. Excuse me. And their doctrine is wrong. Like 40 going north. And it's salvation issues. You got people saying, we just read, listen, you need to be back. We read about the baptism of, this is just an example. We read the baptism between Philip and the eunuch, right? In that account. You read in Mark, he said, listen, he that believeth and is baptized shall be saved. He that believeth not shall be damned. So it's a salvation issue. And you got people talking about who Israel is like that is the gospel. That's important, but that's not the gospel. So they teaching people, you don't have to be baptized. I tell a story, the brother told me, my mother anointed me when I was younger. What does your mama putting some Crisco on you or some baby oil or some Vaseline or some shea butter? It probably wasn't no shea butter because you were my age. We weren't really dealing with shea butter. We had that big thing of Vaseline. All the years of my adolescence, I don't even know if my mother changed the jar. It's like that oil that don't end. You stick your finger in it, look empty. Stick your finger in there, something in there. Stick your finger in there, something. So her anointing you with that or her spitting on your face when you had something on your cheek, that does not have anything to do with your salvation. Who is, no disrespect to your mama, but who is your mama? Who is your mama? That ain't got nothing to do with your salvation. She anointed me. Anointed you to do what? To get a GED? What did she anoint you to do? What does that mean in regard to your salvation? He that is baptized shall be saved. He that believeth not shall be damned. You say, why are you mocking that? Because it need to be mocked. Because you need to be pointed out. People's salvation is on the line. If you're not saying that, if you don't believe the gospel. So what are you doing? You putting on an outfit. You doing this. You doing that. You screaming loud, talking loud. What it mean? You got to get the basic fundamental things down. Otherwise, you in trouble. Otherwise, you saying you straight on your, or you good on your own merit. No, you saying you can be justified by your own works. You cannot be justified by your own works. But now this is 1 Corinthians, the 3rd chapter. Because sometimes people can't understand because they haven't grown. This is 1 Corinthians, the 3rd chapter, verse 1. It says, and our brethren could not speak unto you as unto spiritual, but as unto carnal, even as unto babes in Christ. So I can't even speak the spiritual matters unto you or teach them because you too carnal. You too fleshy. It says, even as babes unto Christ. So just, he said, I have fed you with milk and not with meat. For hitherto ye were not able to bear, neither yet now are ye able. So just like a baby, you can't give a newborn some steak, man. That stomach, you can't, that baby ain't got no teeth. It's basic things that people, you have to have that first. It's to have faith. So you, like I was talking about the foundation, you got to build a foundation of understanding. So I fed you with milk and not with meat. For hitherto ye were not able to bear it, neither yet now are ye able. So you still can't bear it. It said, for ye are yet carnal, for whereas there is among you envyings and strife and divisions, are ye not carnal and walk as men? Then he started talking about, well, Sam, I'm of Paul, another Sam, I'm Apollos. Are you not carnal? He said, who then is Paul? Like I said, who is your mama? Nobody. My mom ain't nobody. I ain't nobody. It's like, who? He said, who then is Paul and who is Apollos but ministers by whom ye believed? Wait a minute. What? That should sound familiar. Let's go back and read it again. Romans, the 10th chapter. Verse 14, how then shall they call on him in whom they have not believed? Praise the Lord. And how shall they believe in him in whom they have not heard? And how shall they hear without a preacher? And how shall they preach except they be sent? As it is written, how beautiful are the feet of them that preach the gospel of peace and bring glad tidings of good things. He says, who then is Paul and who is Apollos but ministers by whom ye believe, even as the Lord God gave to every man? He said, I have planted, Apollos watered, but God gave the increase. So then neither is he that planteth anything, neither he that watereth anything, but God that giveth the increase. That's why I say all praise to the Most High for any edification. That's why I say that. So that's just a little bit on what you need to do. And obviously another thing, if you want to know, you do need to pray. You want to pray that he open up your understanding. But that don't mean you pray and just sit there either. That means you pray and then you have to take the steps, brothers and sisters. That's what you have to do. That's what you have to do. So again, you want to know what this Bible is saying? You have to be taught what this Bible is saying. And there's another problem. This YouTube is terrible. And what I mean by that is it is great in the sense of what you can access, is bad in the sense of what you can access. Because there's so many people teaching so many doctrines and people don't have are not founded, not rooted in sound doctrine. They don't know, they don't have a clue. Then they listening to somebody who either doesn't have a clue or is leading them astray on purpose. And then now you, like I said, you got huge congregations. They all around the world talking about who Israel is, but then they ain't teach you got to be baptized. What are you doing? That's a salvation issue. But they won't worry about your beard. Listen, yeah, you supposed to have a beard. Yeah, but wait a minute though. What about the baptism, brother? You got to get that right. You got to get that right. I don't care you marching down the street. I don't care what you got on. I don't care your outfits look beautiful. That's great. You better get baptized. I know that much. You better get baptized. Your salvation is on the line. So somebody come preaching to you, because you want to understand it, you have to be taught. It's up to you to line up what they're saying to what's written. Because the Bible, the scriptures are the authority. The scriptures are the authority, brothers and sisters. So you need to line that up. And how you understand it, line upon line, precept upon precept. Here a little and there a little. By 2 or 3 witnesses. Okay? So now that's a little bit. The brother asked the question, Brother Austin, peace. And peace to everybody that's listening. Like, share, and subscribe. He say, peace, bro. Do you have any recommendations on how we can improve our literacy? That's a good question. You know, the only way to improve, well, let me say that you have to read. Okay. And one way you can do it, you have everything, you have all these apps, you have YouTube, you have all these readers. As you read, take a time every day. I'm gonna show you something real quick. Okay. And this is and I don't take, this is a year 52-week Bible reading plan. Okay. Now I don't take a year to do this. So, you know, it's separated in the, you can print this off online. It's separated in epistles, the law, history, songs, poetry, prophecy, and the gospels. Okay. So as you see, I don't know if you can see it. As you see, as I go through, I just mark it up. Okay. Now, but if you're having problems with literacy, you need to take the time to read. And one of the things you can do is you can put on an audio Bible, which you can find all that online for free on YouTube. I don't know. They might have apps. And then, no, I don't have a link to that. See, that's what I'm saying. Y'all got to go find it. It's a type this in, 52-week Bible reading plan. I don't even know. I have this saved. I don't even know I don't have a link for that. But you just type that in. It's a bunch of reading plans online. And you could push that audio. And if you having problems reading, read along with it. And that will help you. Because for phonics is important, understand. Phonemic awareness and phonics is important to pronounce words that you don't know. But so much of reading, brothers and sisters, is memory. You're not sounding out all those words. It's memory. Okay? So if you take the time to read, I can't WhatsApp it to you either. Go online, brother, and type it. Oh, actually, hold on. Here it is right here. It's on the bottom of this. It says www. See, I know it was on here. www.bible-reading.com. Here. You see that? Can you see that? I know it might look backwards on your that's what it looked like. Say www.bible-reading.com. It's a bunch of these. If you just type in 52-week Bible reading plan, it's gonna come up. It's gonna come up. So read an audiobook. And let me just say this. Yeah, see, as I'm saying, it's good. It's on there. Yeah, that's what I say. I don't remember where I got it from, but it's written on here. Because I just have it saved as a PDF and then. But yeah, another thing, if you don't have problem reading, one thing you can do, if you see the principle of like triangulation, you see like when it say here a little and there a little, if you really want to understand the topic, me and my father were talking about this. If you really want to understand the topic, read what the authorities have to say on that topic, and you'll get understanding on that topic, right? So they'll put the same topic in different words, and they'll add different things. Things will be able to be verified. Well, he said this, he said this, she said this, he said this. They all saying this, you know, or it might be different a little bit, but that's a good way to get some understanding of a topic. Okay, I get an example. If you want to read, it's people that read several. You like, why would people don't even read newspapers anymore? Like actual, but back in the day, people used to get several newspapers. Why? Because those writers are gonna give they're gonna get us information about the same account, but from a different purview. It's like when you're reading the Gospels. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John are the same, but they're not exactly the same. You understand? So each one is looking at it from his perspective. So, but it's not like they're contrary to one another, though. They all align. So that's a great way to understand. So that's how you need to teach. That's how you need to deal with the scriptures and deal with other subject matter. And that's how you get a good understanding of what's being said. And that's how scholars know things in depth, because they read the authorities on the subject. That's why you look at their books, you get like, all these references, these citations, because they've done that. But to increase literacy, you have to read. Okay, and I would say start with the book, with the scriptures. Start there. Get an audio book, read if you're having problems, and read along with it and follow along. Just follow along with that audio book. Okay. Or listen to lessons. Transcribe those lessons. When I mean transcribe the lesson, I mean transcribe where they're going, where the teacher's going as far as in the lesson, and go over those scriptures as he's preached. A lot of times people just I guess people so used to listening to things, watching things, they really don't get, they don't want to get to the turning of the pages of the book. There's a lot of passive. You reading, you have to be engaged. You have to engage the text. You have to attack the text. Okay? You have to consume it. I heard, he's a Muslim scholar, but he said something that made a lot of sense. He said you should read like a cow chews or eats. You say, what? How does a cow eat? A cow will eat the food, go down there, digest it, it'll come back up. He'll chew that cud. He'll chew on it some more. Swallow it down, come back up, chew on it some more. That's how you need to read. You're not going to necessarily get it. You can read it. You know how many times I read something? Well, I read this book. I don't know how many times, but you read and read and read, and then you're like, wait a minute, that's what that's saying? Something else is opened up to you. So you got to meditate on the word. With that, brothers and sisters, I want to say this. If you've been, well, we meet every Sabbath. Let me say that. We meet every Sabbath at 5925 West 25th Avenue in Gary, Indiana, at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. That's 5925 West 25th Avenue in Gary, Indiana, at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. We live stream right here on the Israel Teach YouTube channel at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, as well as at www.israelteach.org. That's our website. We live stream there. If you have been edified through the ministry and would like to leave a donation, you can do so. You can leave it at our website through PayPal. 100% of the proceeds go to the work of the ministry. All praise to the Most High, brother. Like, share, and subscribe. Also, these books are available on Amazon. Into Egypt Again with Ships. A Message to the Forgotten Israelites. Pagan Origins of Christian Holidays. Killing Black Innocents, the program to control African American reproduction from slavery's end to the present day self-inflicted genocide. Hair like wool, feet like burned brass, the color of Jesus, and burning truth concerning the Messiah. For then shall be great tribulation. And this is these two are the latest books, these two. This one, few weeks old, In Defense of Biblical Polygyny or Multiple Wives. Those are the 6 books so far that I've written. Brother brought up something. A great time to ask questions is on Zoom. Yeah, you're right. I didn't mention that. Thank you. We have Bible study every Friday night on Zoom. So if you look in the description on this video, you will see the personal meeting ID number that you can put in to be a part of that question and answer or the Bible study. And that is where you can have your answers to your questions out the Bible. Okay, and with that, brothers and sisters, like, share, and subscribe. And it is always my prayer that you were edified.